I'd like you to give me some examples of calm is courageous in chaos, leading when no one is watching, and courage is doing it scared. Give me some real life examples of this. Good morning. I hope you are here. Okay. Good morning. Today I am going to talk about calm is courage and leading when no one is watching. Kind of like now, but it's okay because I have courage. What I really wanted to talk about is calm is the courageousness in chaos. Did you know that in 2009 there was a guy named Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberg, and he was on a flight 1549. I don't know if you recall this, but in 2009 he was the captain who had an engine failure in his airplane, and miraculously he was able to land his airplane with both of his engines that had failed, and he landed the plane in the Hudson River, and 155 people survived. This is the kind of calm in chaos that we are missing today, because in today's society everybody's freaking out, and the cool heads and the cool minds are the ones that are succeeding. They're the ones that are moving forward, and it's important to understand that it's a muscle, right? We get to develop this muscle based on doing it over and over again. Good morning, Carla. Thank you so much for saying hello. And so I just want to bring the attention to when people freak out, nothing good comes of it. And when that's your go-to muscle, is the freaking out muscle. It's a very It's a very chaotic place to be, because if you keep referring to the chaos muscle, you won't be able to move forward. And this is what I really want to talk about this morning. What I really want to talk about is calm and is courageous in chaos. Another example that I want to start off the program with is that the nurses and paramedics that show up when there's mass casualties, right? When when tragedy strikes, like a mass shooting or a multi-car pileup, the first responders don't have the luxury of freaking out, right? They compartmentalize their fear and they calmly triage making life or death calls with very little time to think. And that's courage in real time. And it's important to know that it's not something that we prepare for, but when we are able to access that courageousness in the face of chaos is really important to our day-to-day lives. And when we do it over and over, that muscle strengthens, like I was talking about before. And another thing about calm in chaos is the third example that I wanted to give was the story of Nelson Mandela, right? Nelson Mandela was in prison since 1964 to 1990. And this guy spent 27 years behind bars. And he wasn't the kind of guy who was screaming or caving in to the demands that the government was putting on him. But he led calmly with a vision from his prison cell. And when South Africa was on the verge of civil war, people looked to him as the voice of calm in the chaos. And I just want to bring these examples forward to give you like a broad understanding of how important it is to remain calm, because that's where the superpower lives. Good morning, Ruby. Rise and shine to you, darling. And so I've got real life examples to bring everybody up to speed in this process. And so there's that point that I wanted to make, and there's another point that I wanted to make is leading when no one else is watching, right? It's important to still do the things that you're doing, not because you have an audience, but because that's what you chose to do. And by doing that and having that leadership in your own life, it will penetrate other people's well-beings. And here's what it is. The true leadership isn't about credit. It's about responsibility, even in the dark. And here's some examples that I came up with. Number one is that the janitors on the NASA during the Apollo missions, one janitor famously told JFK, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." He swept the floors like the mission depended on it. No cameras, no applause, just purpose. Good morning, Stephanie. And you see, people think that their actions or their purpose doesn't affect the greater good of what they're going after. And this particular janitor that worked at NASA took his life so seriously that he was also responsible for the lunar missions. Isn't that interesting? That you would think that this insignificant person, like he didn't have anything to do with it. He wasn't the one that was pushing the buttons or pulling the levers or making the calculations. but yet his job was just as important, the cleanliness of that building, so that other people could navigate it, depended on it. And I find that to be fascinating. It's a fascinating story. And so, another a prime example of leadership and how important it is that a single mother working two jobs while studying at night, you see, no one is clapping for her. She's leading her kids by example, and the resilience, sacrifice, and the work ethic, they watch her grind, and it becomes their blueprint. You see, sometimes we do things and nobody's watching or applauding, and yet we don't realize that the blueprint that we leave behind is so everybody needs a blueprint, everybody needs a map to go by, right? And you have to wonder, like, where do you get this blueprint? Where do you get this map? Right? Where do you get your work ethic from? Right? You got to learn it from somebody. We don't come out of the womb with work ethic. We don't come out of the womb with purpose. And we find it from people that imprint us. Anybody who lives on a farm will tell you that if you hatch ducks, for instance, excuse my hat, it's freezing in my farmhouse this morning. And anybody who raises ducks will tell you that when you raise ducks from an egg and they don't have a mother, the ducks depend on you, especially if you hand feed them. You will find that those ducks see you as their mother, and they will follow you everywhere. And there's a word for it, babe. There's a word for it. It's escaped my mind right now. But the ducks follow you, and the reason imprinting that you've imprinted on them, and so that imprint signifies to that duck that you are the leader. And so even a small little duck is easily blueprinted if you are a good role model, and if you feed them, care for them, take care of them, that's imprinting. And we don't realize how important that is for our development. Good morning, James. How you doing, my brother? If you really want something, you got to work for it. Exactly. You know, Stephanie, it's interesting that you say this, because I always tell my colleagues and people that I speak to, I say, we don't get the life that we wish for, we get the life that we work for. And as a young man, that one sentence really helped me, because a lot of times we sit around people and we're always wishing, right? Like, I wish we had this. I wish it wasn't raining, and I wish I was more successful. I wish I had a bigger audience. Whatever it is, but you don't get it by wishing for it. You get it by working for it actively, right? You put your caloric intake and you trade that caloric intake for an outcome. But the outcome is what you put that energy towards. I bring this up a lot, and it changed my life, actually, since I was 40 years old. And Nikolai Tesla, which is probably one of the smartest human beings that ever lived on the planet, he had so many different patents, and he had so many different ideas. And he was a Serbian man. He never even lived in North America, but he read about the Niagara Falls as a young man. And so in his dreams, he was wondering how he could harness the power of Niagara Falls. And he didn't know how to do it, right? But he invented it. He invented AC power, alternating current, that we use today. The reason that you hit the switch and the lights come on, Nikolai Tesla. And so Tesla had no concept of alternating current, but he didn't wish that he could do it. He did it. And not only did he do it, on a several occasions, this man's laboratory was burnt to the ground. They burned because he was such a smart guy, and people were jealous of this kind of man. He making a steam powered generator, yeah, all kinds. Like I'm talking like neon lights and the first I think it was the radio or the transmitter or something but he invented so many different things, and he held thousands of patents, so much so that George Westinghouse used his patents until the day that he died. George Westinghouse paid his rent at the New Yorker hotel. Nikola Tesla was the inventor of a lot of things, but he died penniless. He died at the age of 84 in the New Yorker hotel, his room filled with pigeons, because he loved pigeons. It's funny how men that are very smart, very intellectual, highly intelligent, they all have one thing in common, and that's pigeons. Look it up. It's fascinating. Anyway, and so that's why I have pigeons myself. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying I really enjoy them. However, Nikola Tesla dies penniless. He invented all these things, but he didn't want money. He didn't care for it. And one thing that he brought forward, and it always stayed with me, he said that if you live your life based on frequency, energy, and vibration, you will live a different life. And I really believe that. I really believe that, because there's moments in my life where frequency and vibrations have really led me. You know, when you meet somebody for the first time and they give you a creepy feeling, yeah, or they give you a kind of vibe that you can't explain in words, but you just feel them. They're an internal feeling. Animals know this very well. My dogs, for instance, are masters at this. If you're a real fucking creepy person, my dogs will sense it. They'll sense it before you even get out of your car. And this is not because you said anything to them. It's because yeah, exactly. It's an intuition, but we have to practice this intuition. And in order to practice this intuition, we need courage. We have to be courageous to understand that this feeling is real and that we shouldn't dismiss or discount it. Tucker Carlson talks about this too. And it's interesting that the vibration, frequency, and energy, if we live our life through that, right? The exchange of energy. Every year we invite people to come to the farm and, work for a week or two or a month, whatever they want, however long they want to stay. And some of the people who understand frequency, energy, and vibration will say, that's an amazing opportunity. I would love to do that. And other people, their first question is, how much does it pay? And you see, sometimes our brains, our lives, our purpose in life gets hijacked because we are after money or we're after monetary gain. And this is exactly the type of person that we don't want on the farm, because they're the ones that are gonna steal shit from you and not respect things or bend the rules. And this is a moment where it's a real telling indicator. Is this person coming for the energy exchange, the vibration the farm brings you, or the frequency that it dials you into? You see, you don't have to spend a year on a farm for it to change your frequency. You don't have to spend, you just have to spend 15 minutes with your shoes off walking in the grass, and you will be a completely different person. And a lot of people will say, oh, that's not as true. Like, what, that doesn't have that much power. And it certainly does. It certainly does. And anybody who will, that has been in a situation where they go and they convene with nature, they go camping for a weekend, or they go into like a hot stone massage, right? Like a rock that's heated, a rock that is from nature is heated, and that energy of the heat is placed on your back, and that transfer of energy gives you a feeling, a vibration that harmonizes you with the rest of the world. And this is very interesting because, like Stephanie says, you don't need a lot of time. Good morning. How you doing, Batman? And it's important just to know that it doesn't take a long time for a big change. But when you have that ability to have that energy, it's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. And so it's the same thing about that single mother who has 2 jobs and is studying at night, and blue imprints on their children how work ethic works. And those children look at their mother and they say, oh my God, my mom worked 2 jobs and she worked so hard, she put herself through school, and now she's providing a different life for us. This is the kind of leadership that we're seeing today. And and then there's other people, right? And here's the ones that I really want to celebrate, is a quiet student who picks up trash after school events. We all know these people, right? They clean up after the people, right? Some people, they go to these music festivals and they trade their time, they trade their they want to get a ticket to go to the music festival, but they don't have any money. And so they volunteer. And what do? They pick up the trash. They replace the toilet rolls, and they move boxes, and they unload trucks. And those are the people that don't do it for Instagram, right? They're not doing it for likes and shares and things like that. They do it because it's the right thing to do. And you have to ask yourself, like, why is it that the right things to do? And well, if like exactly what we were talking about before, it's an energy exchange. And if you want if you're wishing for something, you can't wish for it. You got to actually do the work. And these people do the work and they get to go to the concert. So anybody who doesn't have money to go to a conference or go to a concert, just know that every one of these organizations or events needs people to help out. And this is a leadership role. People lead with this example. Woo! Excusez-moi. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. Really sick this morning. Oh my goodness. I hope you go outside, take a couple of deep breaths, rev it up. One day and hooked. You're right, Stephanie. All you got to do is try something different. If you try something different, if you have the courage to try something different, I'll tell you, the same thing happened to me when I was a young man. I was 32 years old. I just had a heart attack, and I did yoga for the first time at the age of 32. I walked into a hot yoga studio, and it was 6:30 in the morning. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be up at 6:30 in the morning. And I went into that class, and 90 minutes later, my life was different. My complete life was different. I looked at things differently. I was reading different books. I was having different conversations. And that would have never happened. Thank you. And that would have never happened had I not had the courage to walk myself in. I wasn't wishing, I did it. And the reason I did it was because I wanted to have a different life. And that different life came with a little bit of struggle. You know, to do anything for 90 minutes is a struggle. So, and here's where the courage is doing it's scared. You know, when you are scared and you still do it, that's courage. That's the moment where your life or your brain gets rewired. When you don't want to do something and you do it. You know, every man, when they're at the altar about to get married to their wife, has a moment of, do I really want to do this? And there have been times, you can go and watch it on YouTube, where they will be like, oh, you know, I don't want to do it, and they walk away. Right? They can't do it. And that's okay. But there's some people who do it, and they exchange the rings, they exchange the vows, and they live a completely different life from that moment moving forward. So the courage is not the absence of fear. It's walking forward anyway. Every military man will tell you that they didn't want to jump out of that fucking plane. They didn't want to take part in that activity, but they did it. And some of them that come back get medals. Number one, a whistleblower exposing corruption is courage, right? Speaking the truth is courage. Speaking even when your voice is shaking is courage. And then think of Ed Snowden or Frances Haugen of Facebook. They risk their careers, their reputation, and even their freedom. Edward Snowden right now lives in exile in Russia. And fear was real, and it didn't scare them. That Frances Haugen girl was the girl who exposed Facebook when it came to the election sketchiness that was going on in the last elections with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Remember when they were trying to rig the election? And it was called Analytica. It was something. It was something Cambridge Analytica. And she blew the whistle on it. And because she blew the whistle on it, she was fired from Facebook, for one. But the fact of the matter is that her courage, everybody started to realize that it's not what it all seems to be. A teenager coming out to their parents in an unsafe household. The terror is overwhelming, but speaking anyway. That moment, shaky voice, heart racing, that's courage. See, even teenagers and kids have courage. So it's not something that has to be taught to you. It's either you step into it or you just get more of the same. And getting more of the same, that's a decision, man. That's a decision. And if you keep doing that, it becomes a muscle. Somebody standing up to a bully or an abuser. Yeah. They might shake, they might be alone, but they say no more. Not because they're fearless, but because it must be done. I was watching a program last night with my wife, and it was about this guy who was an MMA fighter. His name was War Machine. He changed his name to War Machine, and his name was John something, and he was an MMA fighter, very aggressive young man. And he was dating this adult movie star. Her name was Christy McInday, excuse me. And she was a very beautiful young woman, and they had broken up for 6 months, and this guy, War Machine, had broken into her house and found her in bed with another guy. And this guy, War Machine, the MMA fighter, literally beat the guy to a pulp. And after he put him in a chokehold and made him promise that he was not going to call the authorities, allowed him to leave. And this guy left. He picked up his clothes and he fucking got out of Dodge. And he just left. And so War Machine gets on top of her, SAs her, and in the process destroys her face, breaks her whole being, puts her into the hospital, completely changes the way that she looks today. And she was only 22 years old. War Machine is 32 years old at the time. It was a big case, huge case in 2014. You can go and look it up. It's actually, but she was on the stand. And she was on the stand and she was standing up to what happened to her. And you could tell her voice was trembling. She was crying. But she knew that it had to be done. She had to recount that incident and that event in order for justice to be served. And it wasn't that she wanted to do it. She loved this guy. She even said it on the stand. She was like, I loved him and I cared for him. And here was this innocent 22-year-old girl that had to be in a courtroom and testify. I'm sure she didn't want to be there. I'm sure she didn't want to be there. But she did it anyway. And because of that, he went to, good morning, Debbie. And because of that, he went to jail for 36 years. He will never get out of prison. He was 36 years old when he went to jail, in another 36 years. So he'll be 72 years old when he has served his sentence. But it wasn't done then. He got like so much more time because he was just an angry individual. And you see, the only reason I bring this incident up is because people who get angry, people who give in to their anger aren't courageous people, right? Courage is knowing that you are a dangerous human being and can control that energy, that vibration, that frequency. Remember we were talking about Tesla? Is that if you can control that, harness it, not just control it, but harness it. Because there's moments in life where anger is warranted. You know, anger is allowed, if you will. But you can't stay in anger, right? Just like everything else. Like, it's okay to be jealous, but you can't stay jealous. It's okay to be sad, but you can't stay sad. And if you want to have a change, if you want to have a shift or a frequency differentiation in your life, you have to have courage. And people say, well, where do you get the courage from? Right? Like, where does it come from? Like, if you don't, and everything in your life that is good, wholesome, serving, comes from gratitude. See, when you don't have anything in your life, when you feel broken, when you feel like you don't have anything in the tank, right? You have to remember to always reach for your superpower, that it was given to you at birth. It's something that everybody has, and that is gratitude. See, this is... Batman says, married 26 years and I'm still asking why I got married. I ask why I got married too, but it comes back to, do I have gratitude for that? Absolutely. And that shifts my whole way of thinking. But what I want to get at is the gratitude is that if you have gratitude, you can build everything that you want in your life. But if you're not grateful for the things that you have, you know, you're not grateful for your heart beating and your lungs filling, and you're not grateful for the sun and being able to wake up. There's people out there that didn't wake up this morning. They didn't. They fucking died. They died in their sleep. They don't have that opportunity anymore. So when you wake up in the morning and you start your day with that courageous word of thank you, even when you don't have to be thankful for anything. Life sucks. But if you lead with gratitude, you lead with courage, the day belongs to you. You can do everything in that day. Believe me when I tell you. And if you don't think it's possible, just try it. Right? Next time you hit a wall or a situation or a challenge or whatever it is, you just start off by saying thank you. Right? Somebody hits your car, thank you. Somebody punches you in the face, thank you. It will change the neurons that fire in your head. And when you start to notice those changes, and it's a different way of responding to things, life will be different. See, if you, one of my favorite philosophers is a man called Alan Watt. And Alan Watt was a guy, he was a philosopher that was around in the 60s. I think it was in between 1960 and 1970. And he wrote a vast amount of books. And he had a lot of talks, like Dharma talks, spiritual talks. And Debbie says gratitude is the right attitude. I love that. I love it. You know what? I love everything to do with gratitude. And when people understand it, they understand that it's the model to be after. It changes everything. And so Alan Watt, he was a philosopher, and what he did was he took Taoism, Buddhism, all of these Eastern philosophies, and he translated them into English. And when he translated them into English, there was a lot of learning. There's a lot of language differentiations. There was words that we didn't even have that Eastern philosophies had for centuries. And so he brought these teachings to North America. And one of my most loved things that he said was, if you want heat, you've got to add the wood. And a lot of people in North America, because we've been brainwashed, right? Not only we've been brainwashed, we've been saddled with this totally wrong way of thinking about things. And people in North America will say, well, if you give me heat, I will add the wood. And it doesn't work that way. You see, if you want heat, you've got to put your energy in. And by putting your energy in and putting that dedication to building a fire, you will have heat. And all you have to do at that point is just add a little bit of wood. But the heat comes from you. That step, that first step of picking up an axe and chopping wood and having the courage to do something like that is so immense. That transfer of energy, that frequency, that vibration is so vast that it produces heat, and that heat now can be used to cook. It can be used to nourish yourself. It can be used to warm your house. It could be used to forge steel so that you can make tools to make your life easier in the future. So it starts with these little microscopic movements. But unfortunately, people don't want to look stupid, right? They don't want to look pathetic. And so they don't try. And so when you don't try, you don't get to have the outcome. You see, everybody that learns how to dance looks stupid at first, right? Everybody who learns how to swim looks stupid at first. You're just splashing around. you're not making any progress. But if you stick with it, and you keep your head up, and you don't make the stupid face, when everybody gets in the water and they're like, if you don't make the face and you concentrate on the task at hand, you come out the other side a completely different person. And that takes courage. And that's what we were talking about today. Courage, leadership. Any questions about what we're talking about? Anybody need some insight? I think we should all progress in the same speed. Yo, Ward Flex, that's you. What's going on? You found me. You found me. There's some people from the TikTok channel that roll in here, and they have got different names and different handles. And it's amazing that out of like the audience that I had back on TikTok of like, sometimes we would have like 1,200 different people walking or coming through. And I don't remember all of them just because there's a lot of people to remember. But there were some people who was really, they were impactful, and they were supportive, and they were kind. And because of those amazing qualities, they imprinted on me, and I remember them. Some of them are in the room right now, and I really wanted to thank you guys for introducing yourselves again to me, because I wanted to let you know that it's really amazing that we were able to reconvene here, because I really, really loved those live programs, much like I do today. I posted on my TikTok, you were canceled. I know. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Like, I had so much support. I really did. Some of my haters, which were many, didn't tell people where to find me, and I can appreciate that, because a lot of people were competing with me, right? I find that a lot of people on social media are competing with one another. And I think that is a very simple-minded way of collaborating. I don't like to compete with people. I like to collaborate people. I like to hold people up high. I like to give a leg up to people. I like to promote people. I like to share wisdoms and knowledge and experiences and adventures with people. And some people like to keep that stuff private because they want to be the one that wins. And in my life, I've won, and in my life, I've lost. But I'll tell you something. I don't mind when other people win. I kind of like it. I like to let other people know what it feels like to win. And when people start to win, they want other people to win. But when people only want themselves to win, do you remember what happened with Lance Armstrong? I'm going to read some of these. So true. We were brainwashed, but have learned to manifest the positive, and it spreads to my family, and I see it. It's so true, Carla. It's so true. It's all about manifesting positivity. And really, at the end of the day, we can't take any of this shit with us, man. We can't take any of our fucking wisdom, knowledge, toys, likes, and followers. We can't take it with us. Just share it. Just share it. And love my chat, coffee after chores. Thanks, Steph. I also posted you were on YouTube Live. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Rev It Up. I really, really appreciate it. I think that's why I got such an influx of subscribers on YouTube, and I wanted to thank you guys. I was wondering how I got them, and now it is been revealed. Do you remember that's the whole thing that happened with Lance Armstrong a few years ago, and he was winning the Tour de France, and he was the #1 guy, and nobody could catch him, and he always wanted to be the one that was winning. Nobody else won. It was just always Lance Armstrong. And what happened was nobody else could win. And to the lengths that he had to go to become the winner. The amount of blood doping, the amount of lying, the amount of recklessness, just so that he could be what? The only person that won? He wanted the spotlight so badly that nobody else could be there. To the point where he was doping, blood doping, and taking all of these like horrible chemicals and having like doctors and trainers and coaches and therapists all conspiring to this guy's madness. So much so that it ate him up, and he was totally, his conscience had eaten him up so much that he went on Oprah and he confessed to the world what he had done. And at the time when I was a young man and I was constantly competing with people, and what was I competing for? Money? Like, this is what I wasn't getting anything other than money. You realize at one point in your life, it's not about the money. Like, the money doesn't even mean anything anymore. And so he confessed to the world what he had done. And today you don't even hear about him anymore. He's not even a household name. Nobody is even talking about it. Hey, are we allowed to ask how the online election poll is going? Yeah, absolutely. My online election poll, Pierre Poilievre's in the lead. He's just murdering everybody. But the Lance Armstrong thing, it was one of the things which was so telling, because today we don't even we don't even hear about him anymore. He has become insignificant. And the only reason he becomes insignificant is because everything that he worked for was a lie. And I think sometimes people will trade everything for a clean conscience. And that is a moment where courage steps in. And when people have courage like that to come in front of Oprah's audience, which was, I don't know how many people, but millions and millions of people. And not only was it millions of people that were watching it that day, but it's in its infancy right now, right? Like, you can go to YouTube and watch it. I bet you there's millions of views on that. That will live forever. And what people sacrifice for winning. Which brings me to my point of TikTok. The people that I was competing against, or people who were competing against me, they didn't make one mention that I had moved, because they wanted all of the attention. And that's okay. They can have it. Now that I'm not there, they can have more of it. I just want to remind everybody, be careful what you wish for. Because if you wish for something and you manifest it and it shows up, just remember, you wanted it. And when you get it, just make sure what you use it for. Because at the end of the day, it's a media corporation, right? TikTok's just a media corporation where they're just trying to sell you stuff. They're selling you ads. And you have to remember one thing. Somebody told me this months ago, and it made a lot of sense. They said, if you are not paying for something, right? Like when you are a member of TikTok, when you're a member of YouTube, when you're a member of X. X is not a bad example because you got to pay for the blue tick. But if you're not paying for it, you're the product. Like you are for sale. So in actual fact, you're just basically just prostituting yourself for likes. And look at what people do, right? There's girls out there or guys out there doing like some of the craziest shit you've ever seen, like showing their body parts for likes and hearts. And they don't realize that this is going to follow you for your whole life. You can't eliminate anything. Once it's out there, it's out there. Even if you delete it, somebody out there has downloaded it. Somebody else out there screenshotted it. So once you realize that you shouldn't give yourself away like that, just for likes, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable to me. And that is not courage, that's stupidity. And I want people to understand that you have a choice. And when you do have a choice, I hope that people lead with courage. Families fighting over money and property at the end of everything is left behind. Ruby, I can't tell you how many families get destroyed because of it, right? Destroyed. All for something that somebody else had worked for. Yeah. Like your parents worked for something and they gave more to your sister than they gave to you. It's like, but why didn't you work for it yourself if you wanted it that bad? If you wanted it, why didn't you work for it? And now it was up to your dad or your mom or your late uncle to bequeath it to you. Employers are now checking social media before they hire, and they should. And they should, because your social media post tells people exactly who you are. Right? It tells you exactly who you are. And some people are authentic enough to say, hey, this is who I am. Or some people fake it, right? They fake it. They fake the fact that, oh, I'm this successful guy. There's so many people, Instagram models, that will go to these studios where it looks like a jetliner or a private jet. And they sit by the window and they show people that I'm going away. And it's like, you're in a studio. You're not even in an airplane. But they lie to themselves, and then that lie is projected to the rest of the world. And Stephanie, you're absolutely right. They are, and then they check, and they're like, "You weren't on a plane that day. We were having lunch at the McDonald's." And it's kind of funny, actually. I find it to be very humorous. But the lengths that people go in to fake that they have courage and leadership. And that's the whole chat this morning. I don't know if I told you guys this, but I have got a plan. I've got a model. I put a framework together, and this is what we're going to do. On Mondays, we're going to talk about mastery and purpose. Having mastery and having purpose in our lives. And on Tuesdays, we're going to talk about truth and integrity, what that means. And then on Wednesdays, we're going to talk about leadership and pressure, the pressure that we're all on universally. On Thursdays, we're going to talk about responsibility and resilience, and how important responsibility, being responsible, taking on responsibility, and the resilience that comes by doing those things. And then on Fridays, we're going to talk about presence and confidence. How do we get presence? How do we get confidence? How do we build on this? Because I want to have a framework, right? Man School should be about learning and moving forward. And if we don't have a framework, and if we don't have a lesson plan, and we don't have some ideas, we can't really, we're just going willy-nilly. So I thought, instead of having this impromptu talk that I used to have on the TikTok, I wanted to give it this channel, a little bit more purpose. I wanted to have a little bit more structure. I wanted to have guardrails so that we're not all over the place. And I hope that you guys like these topics. And if you have any topics that you want to learn about and you want me to do some research on it and present it, I'd be happy to do that also. But until those ideas come, I thought I would just do them on my own. I love it. I love that I'm getting some feedback right now. And so, yeah, so that's what we're going to do. And I invite you to, share the videos and make other people, if you think that the content is valuable and you're learning something from it, you're enjoying the interactions and the beautiful community that we have started to develop, or not develop, continue, right? Because we're just continuing. I want you to tell people so that we have more audience. I can't believe that we have 9 people in the room, and I'm really proud of this. And man, I started with 1 this morning and now we got 9. So my belly is rumbling. I am going to sign off. I want to thank everybody for coming in, introducing themselves, and being a part of this program, because I really gives me a lot of purpose. I really enjoy it. I love having you as my audience. And please join me again, maybe not tomorrow, but whenever you can. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic day. I really do. I hope you have purpose, courage, and just remember, you're one decision away from a completely different life. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye for now. Babe.